never seen a smile so big on my little Lord lady's face until I tell her I'm going fishing all weekend. Pack up all of my bacon, I make plans for 7:45, and I swing around, pick up my date for the weekend. Some reason she seems to please when I'm leaving. There's something I'm missing when I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing.
Yeah, baby.
Yes, sir. This is so cool. Great to see you guys on a Monday like this. Sonia, always a pleasure to see you. Of course, my voice is a little raspy from all of the goings on and events this past weekend, so I apologize if I sound like I've been chain smoking, but I have not. I just wanted to let you guys know that sometimes we all break down, and yeah, my vocal cords got stretched to the limit this weekend. Steven, how you doing, buddy? Jeremy's in the house. Nice to see you. Lloyd, how you doing, my friend? Nick's with us as well. Nick, I'm assuming you have already signed up for the CFN Fish Off. We have an announcement. Mike isn't going to be able to join us tonight, but I have a bit of an announcement that I'll be able to share. Ed McKenzie, how you doing, my friend? Nice talking to you today. As always, Steve Shaw, buddy, you were a gem yesterday. God love you, and thanks so much for being here again tonight. Mark, absolutely. Happy belated Father's Day to all. Everybody who is a father, has a father, or wants to become a father. Hope you guys had a great day. And Bob, you've been busy. Nice to see you fishing. We live vicariously through folks like you. Sparkus, yes, sir. Put the CF officially. It is now pronounced a CFN boat. We have a CFN logo on the Sparkus Fisher fishing boat. Jay Barnucz is backstage. We're all ready to hear from him. James is in the house. How you doing, James? Rocky, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Brad's in the house. We do. Brad, stick around. I did put something together for us as well. Dean Howard, great seeing you yesterday. Tony, nice talking to you today. Dean helped out in a big way at our NeXgen event, as well as quite a few others. It was awesome to see. Terry's in the house. Terry's not busy cooking, or at least he's done eating, perhaps, maybe. I want to thank you, Terry, for all of those incredible recipes. Seems so simple when you put it together, but we got to get that cooking with CFN back up and running. It's partly my fault because I just haven't been sharing a lot of your stuff, but keep on the stuff. Yes, Tony, I did finally have a shower, so it's all good, buddy. It's all good. On that note, when it comes to the Ellison family, I think it's apropos that we take a moment and celebrate someone's birthday that is near and dear to all of our hearts. And how do I know that? It's because she spreads herself throughout our entire community and is a little bit of a star. In fact, a little bit of a big star. I want to thank her dad, Rocky, as well as Steve Shaw for helping put a great video together to commemorate Ava's birthday. So on behalf of CFN right now, Ava, we'd all like to wish you happy birthday. That is so awesome. And as you can see, she is a huge part of our community. She gets around, and we are lucky to have someone like Ava who it just understands what it is we're doing, appreciates what we're doing, supports what we're doing, and supports other kids. One of my favorite pictures that we have on our banner is Brooke and Samantha and Ava, and it is just awesome. I when we put that banner together, Walter can attest, I didn't really care about any other picture. That was the one that I was adamant that had to be on the banner. But yeah, again, that banner is absolutely fantastic. So big shout out. Happy birthday to all. And of course, you're getting lots of happy birthday wishes, Ava. Love having you a part of our community. Love having you as a friend, and look forward to seeing what you get up to in the coming years. They do have a brand new boat. So I know her dad, Rocky's going to be taking her out on the regular. Look forward to all that, and of course all the fish that they're going to catch along with that. I did mention that, of course, we had a great event yesterday. Big shout out to all that joined. I also want to remind people that we're going to be doing the raffle tonight. So all those that have bought tickets for our NeXgen raffle, you're in luck, because we got some incredible prizes to give away. So I look forward to doing that. And just to we'll go over the weekend's events later, but I did want to give a shout out to Pal Castings. As you will see, there was Brad and I with the proceeds of the Made in Canada tackle swap and marketplace. We have so far purchased 600 rod combos for NeXgen, for various other kids derbies, but we have exhausted all our funds, unfortunately. So what we're buying right now for the remainder of what's out there and what we have promised, it will be out of pocket. So we're hoping that we can replenish that at our next show. So write that date down, September 22nd. We'd love to have you guys out. The place right now is about 2/3 full. There is going to be an announcement on what we're going to be doing fundraising for at the event. I'll be putting that together. Hopefully, we've got a lot of pieces to put together first. But I'm really excited about where we're going with this. So please stay tuned to what CFN is embarking on next, because I'm really excited, and I'm really proud to where this might go. So again, show up if you have product that you want to sell at the swap. If you are a Canadian-made tackle producer, and you're listening, or perhaps you know somebody that isn't listening that pass it along. We'd love to get as many made in Canada tackle producers as possible under one roof. And of course, we're going to have a host of folks that are going to be doing presentations, seminars, and what have you. So we look forward to that. And of course, as I mentioned, the raffle is going to be tonight for NeXgen. So stay tuned. We're going to have some great stuff to give away. Mike wanted me to mention, of course, the CFN Fish Off and where we are at in regards to registrations, because, of course, for the first 100 that registered, courtesy of Ugly Boys Baits, this is the CFN starter pack. If you're targeting species of fish and a variety of species of fish, almost everything you need from a terminal tackle perspective is in here. Jigs, spinner baits, worm harnesses. I mean, you name it, man. The folks down at Ugly Boys Baits, they've done us proud, and they are going to put you in the driver's seat when it comes to presenting or having presentations that are going to be able to get the kind of species that you're looking for. So as it is right now, Mike has uploaded these posters. These are some of the prizes that are available. Lots of species. It's a multi-species online tournament. If you don't know what the CFN Fish Off is, and I know we have a lot of new people entering it, we love to have more. But as it is right now, I am proud to say we have 93 registered anglers. So we're looking for more. And of course, there's the opportunity to register in the multi-species madness as well. Not only, the CFN Fish Off, as you know, is free, will always be free. But the multi-species madness, there is a fee, a $50 fee to enter. But there's also cash prizes. So if you enter both, not only will you get a chance to win some incredible Shimano product, which we're going to be displaying in the coming weeks, but also some cash prizes from the folks at Anglers Atlas. And again, if you need any questions answered, if you have any questions that you're not sure about, please reach out to either Mike or I. We'll point you in the right direction. We'll make sure that we get you registered. Also, Horwood Lake Lodge, folks, I know Richard Dunlop is going up this month, and there's a few other CFNers that are also heading to Horwood, but I just wanted you to know, again, the CFN retreat at Horwood in August is book solid. There's not a spot available, and the fishing is on fire. Dave Lincoln who lives up there has been telling me on the regular how many smallmouth they're catching, how many walleye, how many pike, but the fishing has been absolutely phenomenal so far. So I'm looking forward to seeing all of you there. And of course, if you are thinking of a faraway destination, perhaps maybe a fly-in type approach, Horwood is a great place to start. Have a look. As your adventure awaits, and we can't, I tell you, I can't wait for August to come. That is definitely one of the highlights of my summer, is getting up and enjoying some fishing at Horwood. And what I thought was booked, the OFC Nation retreat that is happening September 27th to the 29th, one of the cabins, cabin 5, was going to be sort of taken out of regular service because they had some plans to do with that cabin. Tracy just informed me now via email, the cabin 5 is wide open. It sleeps 6. That is the only cabin that's available. That's all that's left. So if you want to join me and this host of characters that are in the picture, please get a hold of Tracy and Andre up at Camp McIntosh so you can enjoy some of the festivities that we enjoyed.
Yeah, baby! McIntosh 2023!
Yes, indeed. It's going to be a great time. Look forward to that as well. September is going to be a busy month, of course, with the show and then the retreat right after. I'm still looking forward to it. Cannot wait to get up there and enjoy some great fishing. Mike's in the house. How you doing, Mike? Tricia, I know why you're sticking around, and I don't blame you. Yes, we certainly appreciate all you guys for all you do. And one fish can win you a great, Mike. Thanks so much for pointing that out. Eve's in the house. Nice to see you. Multi-species madness, 10 species total length to win cash. That is fun. What is Tony saying? Is cabin 5 near your cabin, Scottie? Actually, no. It's far enough away that you will not hear me or anybody else snoring. So you're good, Tony. So by all means, we'd love to see your butt up there, bud. So book a bed. Get up there, man. We want to see you. None of us have met Tony. We want to meet you, Tony. We'd love to see you up there. Just to go over my weekend, I'll give you a video replay of what happened. If you don't know, we had the second stop for the NOWT up in Duberville. This was, in fact, their championship. And what I would like to do at this moment is just thank all of the incredible supporters, all of the volunteers, the town itself, not to mention the anglers. The anglers were, I don't know, man, they're so warm and welcoming. They love CFN. They love what we do. And we were on center stage. And again, to the NOWT and their entire staff, all their volunteers, we say thank you. We've never felt so welcomed as we did this past weekend. So let's have a look at the montage that I've put together. Of course, it is the Duberville Magpie Walleye Derby. Some call it the Snag Pie just because of all the sunken lumber. Everybody loses a lot of tackle. And as I mentioned, these volunteers, all of them, like from one side to the other, they were all busy. They were all making this a hit. And again, it was remarkable to be a part of it. So again, thanks to all of those folks up at Duberville and of course affiliated with the NOWT. What a hit. What a weekend. And of course, Chantal right there. I don't know if you saw Chantal's in the middle. She was basically the head director of the tournament. She's in the referee shirt. How apropos. Yeah, as I said, great event. What a fishery. What a fishery. If you're keeping in touch, you were seeing fish like this coming to the weigh scale on the regular. That's Jeff and Sebastian. This was day 2. They had a tough day 1, but they certainly got things together in day 2 and brought these 2 gems to the weigh scale. And it was an honor to see this. Big shout. You talking about big fish, Monster Monday. These 2 folks, Tim Martell was at his daughter's graduation on the Friday, so he couldn't be up there for the opening ceremonies, and it was just killing him not to be there. But he showed up, Thursday, and he showed up Friday, and they got a good bag. But again, the second day, Tim and Kit hit it out of the park, and I'll tell you, these 2 guys are gems, absolute gems. They love CFN, they love everything we do. So as I said, if you want, follow them because they've got nothing but accolades to say about you guys. And of course, the one and only Frank Clark and his partner Rob Lafrombraise, he caught this beast of a walleye. Imagine 10.35 pounds in a Northern Ontario tournament. Kind of hard to believe, but it happened. And as I said, there was lots of 6s, lots of 7s, a few 8s, a few 9s, and then of course this was big fish of the tournament. And currently, if I understand it correctly, Rob is leading for big fish overall. So there's a big prize. That's $1,000 fish this weekend that Rob and Frank managed to haul in. But if it holds till the end of the tournament, which is going to be tough because there's some great big walleye up in some of those areas, he gets an even bigger prize. So big shout out to Rob because that is the biggest walleye he's ever caught. A few of these critters, we shut that off. This is the music I want to shut off. All right, well, there it goes. Anyway, so it was a long drive home. The scenery was absolutely breathtaking. Absolutely breathtaking. If you've ever done that drive from the Sioux to Wawa and back, I saw 2 families of bears walk along the highway like they were hitchhiking. We saw this one. This was the 3rd moose that I saw. And I was a little concerned driving that stretch at night. So I'm really glad that I got this done when it was still light out. But this dude was literally sitting in the ditch. And if you could see his mouth open, I want to say, and when I go to bed, I'll close my eyes tonight. I'm going to say that moose said, "Yo, what's up, Scottie?" I'm almost convinced because the way he just looked, it was just like, "What's up, big man?" I loved it. It was absolutely fantastic. But yeah, saw lots of moose, great wilderness. And of course, the scenery is just breathtaking, absolutely breathtaking. So again, great event. Look forward to the next one up in Hearst. And then, of course, we're going to be heading to Sault Ste. Marie to wrap up the NOWT trail. Now, again, this was yesterday at the NeXgen event, right at the parking lot of Boston Pizza, right in Keswick. We had, I think it was 115 kids registered. I want to say a few more showed up because we had 125 rods that were strewn out across the grass that I have to shout out to my son and my wife. As time started to tick and I was running out of time, they put the remainder of the rods together. And my son Evan brought all the prizes and whatever and got those ready. Because once I got home from the ridiculous drive all night, I literally got home here at 6 o'clock in the morning, loaded all the rods and prizes up, and then headed straight to Keswick. But I did so because this is one of those events that you just don't want to miss. And a big shout out, thank you to all of these great supporters. But again, a big shout out, thank you to the one and only Brad Norris, who helped me with all of the rod combos. He ran around like a chicken with his head cut off, making sure that we had the rod combos. So a big salute to Brad for getting those all done. And Steve did a wonderful job taking video of all of these rod combos that were made available. again, they all had bobbers, they all had hooks. We put weights on them, and needless to say, all these kids took these rods home. So to set that up, I don't know what this handshake was, but we asked them if they have a handshake for the NeXgen. These two girls did a fantastic job. These are all of the wonderful volunteers at the end of the day that we had to take a picture of and show promise. It was awesome to see Dean Howard, who's a big supporter of both OFC and CFN. So a big shout out to Dean. Nice to have you up there, my friend. And of course, Shane Richard also joined us. Shane, dude, you are an absolute gem of a human being. And it was awesome to see you there. These three ladies I call the pad crew. You'll have to ask me why, but it has a lot to do with their first names. But I call them the pad crew, and they are so much fun to be around. Nikki, you've got some great daughters. Jamie, you guys have done some great work with these three, and I look forward to seeing them every time we have an event that they're going to be around. So thanks to those girls. And of course, Colin Junkin, he has been there, I think, from pretty much day one. And Colin, your passion, your energy, your young daughter, Paige, is a huge help. This poor girl sprained her knee the day before. So she's running around on a crutch, gathering chairs and helping out just as if she was, she had two perfectly working legs. But she was there. She had nothing but positivity and accolades. And she was a huge help. So, Colin, to you and your wife, you have done a fantastic job with your two daughters. Of course, Bruce, I can't say enough about Bruce. And, of course, Brandon with the FXR. He handed out a whole bunch of 13 fishing hats out. He said, I got a couple hats to give away. A couple hats, man. They were 3 boxes of hats. And he just showed up, announced, I'm Brandon. I'd like to help out. I got some stuff to give away. He immediately started helping me put some rods together. So big shout out to Brandon. And of course, that guy dressed in yellow, Bruce. When it comes to fishing and helping out with events, this is a true gem. And the folks at CSFL know exactly what I'm talking about. But Bruce, love you, bud. You are always in a good mood. You always got a smile. And then, of course, Sarah and Natalie. They bring all the life jackets from the OFH. Poor Sarah's car, she has a little hatchback. It's just loaded to the nines with these life jackets. And, of course, all the kids, it's mandatory for them to wear. So, again, thanks for your positivity as well and all your help. But as you can see, look at the pile. Do you believe that all fits in a hatchback? Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Steve, what can I say about you, buddy? You are a gem as always, and helping us put this together with some of the great shots. Of course, the Georgina Fire Department, they showed up, and all these kids were fed by Boston Pizza. So again, it was nice to be a part of, nice to see, and it is just a great event. If you have the chance to help out when we're in Lindsay, it's the first weekend in August. It is on a Sunday. We'd love to have you because some great memories are made at these events, and these kids always go home with a smile, a full belly, and of course a combo. So again, thanks to all those who help out and provide the ability for us to make these kids who don't necessarily have a great story, great upbringing, a great path to our events, and when they leave, I don't even want to think about some of the stuff that they have to endure. So Stanley, you've done a great thing fostering this event. We salute you for allowing us to be a part of it, and we look forward to being a part of it in a big way going forward in the future. For those who were out fishing, big shout out to our good buddy Buck Fishes. He caught this gem of a fish. Beautiful muskie. Muskie season is just open, and he took full advantage of it, and of course wanted to show off that he was representing our nation. Big shout out to Buck for doing so. And, of course, we all know this gentleman, George Morgan. Now, I don't know if he was on Nipissing, but these are some beautiful bronzeback. Look at the size of these fish. Oof. Well done, George. These are some absolute beauts. So, again, it's great to have our community out fishing so we can live vicariously through you. And to George, who is a huge part of our show, thanks so much for sharing that with us. And, of course, bad boy Barnucz. was out beating lily pads. Look at that big mouth beast. Holy smokes. And there's a little bit of a smile there, a little bit of a smile. Jay's going to tell us how much he had to endure in order to get that fish when he comes up. But needless to say, we love the fact that you guys are able to share your adventures with us. And we love seeing it because, as I said, some of us don't get out to fish as much as we'd like because we're busy doing a lot of things. What I want to say, and before we bring in Lawrence, who's up next, I want to ask, of all the tournaments that you have been to, I'm sure you've seen husband and wife. I'm sure you've seen father and son. You may have even seen a mother and son combo, maybe two brothers, maybe a brother-sister. But have you ever seen the likes of this? This was a pontoon boat, and they brought their newly born baby on board, and they fished with this. And they wanted me to take a picture because they said, Scottie, have you ever seen this? This has got to be a first. And I'd have to say, and it just goes to show how family orientated that Duberville tournament is, that they're bringing this young person on. I don't know what the name was. I don't even know if it was a boy or girl. I'm going to suggest that it's a girl just by the pink jumpsuit. But again, you can't judge. You don't know these days. But I want to assume that it's this wonderful daughter of this incredible human being that brought their daughter out fishing on this wonderful pontoon. But yeah, I just wanted to share that because I don't think I've ever seen that. I'm sure if we ask Jay or perhaps Lawrence, they will probably agree. They've never seen it either. But just a great story to see that kind of stuff. All right. Unfortunately, we do not have Big Jim with us. Let me go through if there's any questions. I'd like to help out. Yeah, absolutely, Randy. We'd love to have you. Lots of great comments here. I'm sorry I'm unable to keep up with it because, of course, we've got lots going on. But needless to say, yeah, Frank Clark, you're right. Sparker's gem of an individual. It was an honor seeing him. What's up, Shane? Nice to have you. I'm glad to see you joined us again tonight as well. I know, Adrian, you were out fishing. I saw your fish. You shared those with me. But yeah, Big Jim is not going to be with us, unfortunately, tonight. He's running errands, and he's all over the place, to be quite honest with you. So I'm not surprised that he's not with us, but he just wanted me to say hello. But in the meantime, we have Lawrence Gunther coming up right after a word from our sponsor.
Oh, there's one right there.
Lawrence, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, my friend. How are you?
Fantastic, buddy. I will say this. There was a lot of news that was shared with me via our CFN Legacy member chat that I want to get to. But first I want to ask, and first I want to say happy Father's Day, happy belated Father's Day. And what were you up to on the weekend?
Oh, Friday, Saturday, we were up at the Bluefish Exploration Center. Oh, just working our way, man. It's just, every day we can go up there, we're up there. Just getting everything ready, working with the tradespeople and getting everything ship shape. It's a work in progress. It's coming.
It's coming together. When is the grand opening? When do you christen it with that bottle of champagne?
I'm not saying because I can't.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah. We got a few ducks to line up still, but it's coming together. So I just don't want to nail myself down to an artificial deadline. I said July. I think it's going to be more the fall that we'll be welcoming our first guests.
That's awesome, dude. Great work as always, and I know you've got a host of hands that are helping out a big way. Anything you can provide us in terms of progress, where you're at, where you hope to be soon?
Yeah, we got our accessible dock. We're going to be picking that up this coming week. So it's got a 16-foot ramp that's 4 feet wide with railings, so people can't fall off the edge, wheelchairs and other people. The dock itself is made up of 3 12-foot by 8-foot sections, so it'll be 36 feet in length overall, and it'll have sort of bumpers up and down each side and across the end, which will make getting in and out of boats if you're on your butt sitting on the dock a little bit trickier, but it also prevents wheelchair wheels or white tip canes from going over the edge. It just gives a little bit more security when people are on the dock moving about, and that was important. So I think we created a pretty unique design for an accessible dock system. Nothing's perfect, but it's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to showing some videos of that. We've got we just picked up a tracker 18 DLX bass buggy, so that'll be hanging around there. It's got 4 fishing chairs. It's a pontoon. It's got 4 fishing chairs, a little L-shaped couch, captain's chair, and air live wells front and back, a rod storage. It's got a 60-horse Mercury on it, which is more than enough for what we need up there. And the nice thing about these trackers, right, is the gate, the port side gate, is wide enough that people with wheelchairs can roll through. And
cool.
That's not the case with every pontoon, my friend. You would think, eh? You would think.
No, it's funny because back in the day, I was thinking of doing the exact same thing, and we ended up getting a pontoon boat donated, and then there's a long story that happened after. But you're 100% right, and at the time, it was exactly the reason I got the boat was so that I could take a good buddy of mine who's unfortunately not with us anymore, who was a quadriplegic, and I wanted to take him fishing because he so desperately wanted to go fishing, and I just didn't have the means, and the means just wasn't available. When the boat showed up, to your point, I was devastated because I'm like, I'm never going to be able to get Glenn on this boat. How am I going to do that? So that's awesome to hear. That is so awesome to hear.
Look, there's some power wheelchairs out there that are wider than, this gate will accommodate. But again, some of those power wheelchairs are heavy. And, you put a person in there plus a 300-400 pound power wheelchair, and it's probably not going to, the deck on any deck boat, any sort of pontoon boats, maybe not built to take that sort of weight, direct weight over it. I know they've experimented with other pontoon boats and they've had some challenges. They had to do some reinforcement on it. And I was talking to a friend of mine. He hunts from a wheelchair. I don't know if I mentioned that. He has an all-terrain wheelchair that he got after his accident, and he drives it with his head, and he has a gun mount that he can operate with his head movement as well, and it moves the gun, and then he can look through a sight, and which is just really like a display on an iPhone, and he can just shoot that gun with just a sip of on a puff of a straw. And but that wheelchair weighs 400 pounds, right? It's an all-terrain wheelchair. He says, I'm not going in a boat with that thing, man. He said, if something happens, I'm going down like an anchor. So, yeah.
Okay. Wow. What was an incredible feel-good story just became the Titanic at the end.
Oh, yeah. He'll fish from shore. He'll fish from docks. But he said, I'm not getting in a boat to go fishing. He said, you can put a PFD on me. You can put 10 on me. I don't think it's going to work. He said.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny stuff.
Yeah.
I tell you, you folks with disabilities, you amaze us. You continue to amaze us. Your passion does not hold you back, and the perseverance that you all have is truly remarkable and inspiring at the same time.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring to attention something that happened out in BC. And again, if you were busy up north, I'm not sure if you had a chance to read, but I have the luxury of having people that send me stuff on the regular. And out in BC, there was a big fish die-off, big mortality event.
Yes, I heard about that.
BC farmed salmon.
Yeah.
Now, if you read the article, and Steve shared this, that's the link. If you want to read this article, it's very interesting to see what had happened. Because, of course, everybody asked the question, well, why? Why did so many die? Initially, I think it was thought that it was due to low oxygen, but there is a suspicious boat that apparently goes through that area of the sound, and they're not sure if, in fact, it was doing something that it shouldn't have been doing, but there's a mystery, and I know there's more to the story that's going to be coming. But what has since transpired from that was this message that Terry sent, that Ottawa is set to stop open net salmon farms in BC, giving the industry, and I can't read the rest of it because I couldn't open up the link, but I'm going to assume a 5-year head start to abolish this. Do you have anything to add on this, Lawrence?
This is a decision that was, it was a promise that was made during the last election by the Liberal government to end open net pen fish farming on the West Coast. They've already stopped issuing licenses to some of these aquaculture operations, not the ones on land, but the ones that use the nets, right? And so now it's, are they going to renew any more leases? Are they going to renew any more of these licenses? Or are they going to start canceling licenses? It's hard to cancel a license when you've issued a license, right, without paying a huge penalty. So that there's financial implications. There's transitioning to other, for these communities that have job-related dependencies on these fish farms now. There's transitions to other, economic opportunities that have to be created. You can't just say, sorry, you lost your major employer, boom, lights out, right? So there's a bunch of things to take into consideration for sure. But I think that die-off, look, die-offs happen a lot, right? I think we gave some numbers a few weeks ago on total numbers of die-offs that have been recorded on fish farms. And it's in the millions. Like, it's in the millions of fish that just die for whatever reason. And usually, there's so many fish living together in such a small area that if one gets sick, they all get sick. And then you have to start, you're only allowed to dump in so much antibiotic into these pens, because you can't, create havoc for the rest of the life forms that live in the water, right? The wildlife. So you have to be respectful of that. And then sea lice, like, I think the rule is any one fish in this pen is not supposed to have more than 3 sea lice per fish. I think the fish in around that area, they were reporting having, that this is the government, that there was over 30 sea lice per fish. So that can be dangerous for the fish. But yeah, I mean, the trick is these fish die. You have to get them out of the water as fast as you can, because they're just going to, they're just going to rot in the bottom of the net. You're going to have problems. It's going to make the whole area toxic for any future fishing. So they have to get them out as soon as they can. Yeah. They have these boats with these giant vacuum cleaners, and that's how they were alerted to this fish kill. Is some advocates in the area, Alexander and Morton especially. She looked at the all these boats have satellite trackers on them, and just by looking at the satellite map, she could see that there's a whole bunch of boats coming in and out of this area. So a friend of mine, he kayaked over there and took some pictures, and he said it was horrifying, absolutely horrifying. The white scum just floating, and they're pumping fish out of these nets, dead fish out of these nets, and and grinding them up and just spewing them back into the water.
So was it him that was featured in the article? Because there was a gentleman that was in a kayak that did kayak.
Yeah.
Was that him? Was that your buddy?
He's from Watershed Watch Salmon Society, and he does a lot of tracking on salmon numbers on the West Coast. And he is a pretty outstanding independent scientist. He doesn't behold to anybody. He just reports the numbers as he sees them, good and bad. Like, he'll tell you, hey, good runs here, good runs here, good runs there, all up and down the coast. Every year he gives a forecast. At the end of every season, he gives a summary. And so he's on top of this, and he understands what's going on with these farms and their impact on wildlife around these river mouths and so forth. So yeah, he said, I think that reporting of his, it took place at the same time the Liberal cabinet, the federal cabinet, was meeting in Ottawa to decide the future of these fish farms on the West Coast. And I think it might have had, it might have convinced the government to say, yeah, we're moving in that direction. Now, 5 years from now is a long time. A lot can change in 5 years, right? But it's a promise. And, maybe if I'm a little cynical, maybe they're saying, well, you can't just whack, stop it instantly. But they've had a lot of notice that it was coming. There was a promise that this is all supposed to end in 2025. So now they're saying, okay, in 5 years, all nets must be out. I haven't read the fine details on this yet, but it's a bit of, there's some slippage there. There's some slippage.
Now, Mark Wolf has said the feds did that for the cod industry years ago on the East Coast. Is it going to be similar to what's going on or what happened on the East Coast with cod as it is on the West Coast?
I'm not sure what the simulation, the similarity there is that Mark's pointing to, but happy to look into that some more and let you know next week for sure.
Mark also has another question. How will the shutdown of these farms impact the harvest of natural salmon? Great question, Mark.
Yeah, you would think that hopefully the numbers of wild salmon will rebuild, right? Now that you got this issue that we know scientifically is negatively impacting the wild salmon populations, right? So if you take out the source of that impact, hopefully those wild salmon populations will rebuild. Will it mean that there is more commercial fishing activity going on those wild salmon? Well, that's all based on DFO estimates, based on scientific, calculations. So it's hard to say. They track that stuff pretty closely.
Interesting, great stuff. And of course, Jeremy, to your question, will this issue change if there's a change in government? And I'm going to probably answer the same way that Lawrence would. Yeah, it could.
Lots can change.
Yeah.
Lots can change. And to be cynical, if you want to be cynical, you could say, well, the people might just say, well, the Liberals said, okay, in 5 years, but that means if you want this promise to be kept, reelect us, right? And, but at the same time, you can't just cancel licenses without having to pay huge economic penalties. And it might not even be legal, right? So,
this is the thing. And if I understand and remember all of the work and research you've done on this, all of these are owned by basically one person. Is that correct? That's
the salmon fishing boats. These salmon farms are owned by a number of international companies.
Gotcha.
One on the East Coast, they have nets on the West Coast. It's one of the top 5 in the world, and the owner of that just recently passed away. And but they're definitely up and down the East Coast. And this is interesting. Like we see this announcement being made on the West Coast, but nothing similar on the East Coast. And yet the issues are the same.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I know you've got probably a vast list of news items that you are chomping at the bit to get to, so I will let you go. Before, though, I will mention that if you've missed this podcast or any others, go over to Bluefish Radio and Bluefish Canada. Of course, check the resource. There's a library of stuff, not only with us at CFN, but of course, other special guests that Lawrence has interviewed in many years prior to now that I would love for you folks to have a listen to. So again, head over to Bluefish Radio, look at the archives, and get caught up.
Thanks, Scottie. Thanks for the plug. And it's great to be able to record these and share these with you to a broader audience. I mean, you got a huge audience on Canadian Fishing Network, but you know what? People who watch Facebook live stream, they don't necessarily listen to podcasts, right? And vice versa. So, there's we're just reaching out to more and more people. And that's important. More educated to get people, the better we will be at being stewards, right? And speaking of stewards, I in 2017, I started the Great Lakes Fish Health Network with support from the Canadian Environmental Law Association and the Great Lakes Network. And it's still going strong. We're doing some great work. And so much so that now the St. Lawrence River Institute for Environmental Science has asked me to establish a similar fish health network for the entire St. Lawrence River. So I think that's pretty cool. It's all linked, right? It's all linked, obviously. But
one way or another, you're 100% right.
Yeah, but why haven't we been looking at fish health on the St. Lawrence River when it's all the focus is on the Great Lakes? And just, as an example, I attended the Great Lakes Fishery Commission meetings, and they're talking about Lake Champlain. They call that the 6th Great Lake. And it's an important part of our whole ecosystem, of the whole basin, they call it.
100%. And it's funny because I think at one point they were actually debating the idea of turning it into or considering it a Great Lake. Were they not?
I didn't know that, but you know what? It's so historically significant, right? If you think about it, at one end you got the Richelieu River, which connects Lake Champlain to the St. Lawrence River, and at the other end of Lake Champlain you got the Hudson River, which flows right down through New York City and out into the Chesapeake Bay, right? So this is a military historical significance, economic. It's massive. But is there a fishery there? Man, people love to fish on Lake Champlain. Apparently the fishing is fantastic. Is there commercial fishing going on? I don't think so, but there's definitely recreational fishing going on there.
Absolutely, and lots of tournaments too. We can't forget some of the high-profile American and Canadian tournaments that are held on Lake Champlain. So yes,
we just don't hear much about it, do we? In the media, it's sort of like this silent, black star out there that that people hear about, but do they ever actually go and visit it?
And it's gorgeous country. If you ever get a chance to get down there, just don't hesitate, because it is beautiful, beautiful scenery down there.
A couple other little new items. I'll just mention more about what we're working on here at Bluefish Canada. Nature and Outdoor Tourism Ontario has put together a working group to look at accessibility and sustainability, and they've asked me to be a member of that. So we had our first meeting last week, and it was quite interesting. There's a law in Ontario. If you're a small business, you have to have a certain level of accessibility for people with disabilities. And there's a lot of motivation among small businesses to operate sustainably, right? So how does that all fit together? And how do you make it so that there's an economic, incentive? Yeah. Like it can't just be a stick, right? It can't just be a law. You have to do this and you have to do that. And, people would just flip you the bird at some point and say, leave me alone. I'm just trying to make a living here and hire a few people and provide a service or whatever. But, when you can provide an incentive and that's the goal, right? Is to make this, hey, if you do this, you might attract more of these people or more of this demographic. And basically, we're all getting older and we're all going to have disabilities at one point or another. So,
it's also, the inclusive narrative that is going on in this country, which, to your point, in this situation is extremely important, because at the end of the day, we want everybody to feel welcome to whatever store they go into. It's easy for us able people to enjoy what is provided, but of course, those who are handy capable, as Jeremy says, and that's the right word and verbiage, in my opinion. We want you folks to enjoy it just as much as we, and sometimes we forget about that. We take it for granted, and you know what? I'm glad that you've brought us back to remind us. That's awesome.
Yeah, and that here's this association representing the outdoor industry, right? Outfitters, lodges, resorts, and they're the ones championing this. They're the ones saying, hey, this is an imperative. If you want to grow your business, you can't ignore this. Your basic customers are getting older in Ontario. The baby boomers are aging. If you want them to leave their sport behind, their recreational passions behind, because you can't accommodate them, then you're not going to have their business any longer. So, there's an imperative right there. Face it, 40% of men over 65 have significant back or knee issues. And you can work with that. If you work with that and make a few accommodations here and there, it's not a problem, right? People will still come and enjoy your facility, enjoy your outdoor opportunities. But if you don't, you're just, for one silly thing, you may be denying them that opportunity. They won't come back.
Sure.
So they realize that. Parks Canada, which is responsible for our national parks as well, they get this. They have a visitor experience section there, and they've asked me to be on their advisory committee for the next 2 years. And again, they understand that, they want to make sure they don't throw up some stupid barriers, or they just deny people inadvertently because they just didn't think about it. So it'll be interesting to hear what's going on there. And I'm looking forward to our first meeting with the Visitors Experience Advisory Committee. So we'll see what happens there. I'll keep you posted.
That's exciting. And you're right. At the end of the day, I don't think anybody does it by purpose. It's done without thought. And it's great having, folks like you and some of these steering committees around to sort of get us back on course and make sure that we haven't forgotten the forgotten. You know what I'm saying? So
absolutely, buddy. Absolutely. Whether it's your family, your friends, right? Yourself, your loved ones, it affects all of us, our family. We all know someone with a disability, and everyone is going to have a disability at some point or another, whether it's permanent or, long term. My friend, John Anderson from Ottawa River Muskie Factory, he just suffered a couple of strokes, and it's going to take him a good year of rehabilitation to get back going again. And
wait, just recently?
Just in the last 2 weeks, yeah.
No.
He just got out of the hospital.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awful.
I know. My heart goes out to him. I was just talking to him today, and he's such a proud man. He's a man that does, he's a go-getter, and so he's looking at options. We were talking about other things he can do in the meantime, and and we're helping out with the Ottawa Fish School as always. That's his baby, the Ottawa Fish School. We're always there with him on that, and we will be again this year for sure, and even more. And Lisa Goodyear is his main guide for the Ottawa River Muskie Factory. So she's got 71 bookings already, and now she's having to take on all John's bookings as well. So she's going to be a busy muskie guide this year.
God bless her. I'm wondering, do we reach out to a Brent Bochuk at some point and say, hey, listen, I don't know if there's a muskie guide that would feel like filling John's shoes, to be quite honest with you, but if there's a need there, I would say at this point, calling all muskie guides, if you're looking to help out, I would say the pioneer of muskie fishing and muskie charters, John Anderson, who's done some wonderful stuff, not only for us, but the fishing community at large. I'd love to be able to help if I could. Yeah.
And what does that look like, right? Like he's a proud man, and it's his business. He's grown this business for over 20 years. And our reputation and
heart goes out to you, John. As I said, that's a tough blow. That's a huge blow to not only John, but the entire angling community. Wow, didn't see that coming.
Now, Mark Gaden is a friend of mine. Mark Gaden just turned 55. He was the manager of policy at the Great Lakes Fishery Commission. He was just made executive secretary of the Great Lakes Fishery Commission. We'll be having him on the podcast soon to talk about his vision for the Great Lakes Fishery Commission going forward. His legacy, the legacy of the former executive secretary, Mr. Lamb. Bob Lamb, and where he sees the big challenges are. One of them was the sea lamprey. That's always been a big challenge for the Great Lakes Fishery Commission to keep those lamprey down, and they have been successful in reducing their numbers by 90%. If it wasn't for that, we'd have no wild fish stocks in the Great Lakes. So there was a challenge during COVID when you couldn't get people out. When you couldn't get the experts to get together to make the chemicals, to put the chemicals into the rivers and do all that close contact work on small boats and so forth. So there was a year we missed, and they're slowly catching up, but they think they're back on top of it now. So we'll have Mark talking about some of those issues when it comes to grass carp, invasive species, so on, and the sea lamprey project, and what else is coming up, right, in terms of removing dams and wild fish and so forth. He's just a great guy, absolute great guy.
That's awesome. Look forward to that.
Matt,
time for one more, Lawrence.
Yeah. Matt DeVille, some of you may know Matt DeVille. He's been with the Ontario Federation of Anglers and Hunters. So he's just taken over as the new executive director from Angelo. For the Ontario Federation of Anglers and Hunters. And here's a very progressive, forward-looking thinking man, and you couldn't ask for a better guy to sort of come in to fill Angelo's shoes and look at this, the future of the Ontario Federation of Anglers and Hunters. And he'll tell you, like the average age of the OFAH member right now, I think is like 67, right? So this is, here's a membership that's just about to go over the precipice. I don't want to put it that starkly, but age gets all of us in the end. And if you don't sort of rebuild that membership, that membership of the OFAH is going to take a huge drop in the next little while as members age out, right? At some point, they're going to say, I'm not going to renew my membership. I'm not fishing and hunting so much, or if at all, because of disabilities or just ailments or whatever, or new passions or whatever. But it's a big challenge. They experienced this in the United States, and 4 or 5 years ago they set a goal of getting back 60 million anglers and hunters in 60 months in the United States. They call it their 60 by 60 initiative. That's just coming up now. They never quite made it. Then they had that bump, the COVID bump in numbers, but that dropped off a little bit again. It's better than it was. Just like here in Canada, it's better than it was. But how do we get young people to sign up and become a member of an organization and commit to being a member of an organization? Young people don't commit. They do things, they're active, but they like to be commitment free. They like to be, try this, try that, go here, go there, but don't count on me, coming back year after year kind of thing, right? It's not how they work these days. And we have to change that.
It's so true. And I will say this, again, not to go back to the NOWT every time I want to make a point, but that's the wonderful thing about the NOWT is you're starting to see that youth, that influx of youth that are helping out with the tournaments, that are helping out with the bags, the docks, the boats, the inspections, because you're right. You see a lot of long in the tooth volunteers that are eventually, not going to be able to do it physically. It's not to say that they won't want to do it going forward, but they just might not be able to. And you're right. We need to get these young people interested and passionate about hunting and fishing in order to keep these traditions alive. So
for every one of us could, mentor one young person and say, look, it's not, I love the fact that you love fishing or you love hunting. That's great. But here's how I give back and help, give me a hand here, work with me on this and get them involved in some of the give back opportunities that come your way and start to get them, that this is second nature, right? That, there's ways to give back and just do it. You just do it every year. You find ways to give back and make sure that it's going to be around in the future.
Sometimes you just got to grab them by the hand and take them, whether they know what they're doing or whether they know anything about what you're about to do. Sometimes you just got to take them by the hand and listen. This is fishing. This is hunting, and show them everything about it and make them become experts, whether they want to or not. And I don't want to say force them, but sometimes you just got to take the bull by the horns. And you're so right.
Yeah. Pass on. Teach them the responsibilities that go along with the passion and the excitement of these sports. Right. That it's not just take, and then walk away. And you're right. From one father to another, my friend. We know that you can give an example, you can show an example, but when you try to drag them away from their digital, gadgetry, and get them off grid and away from their electronics, and say, there's another world out there that's not plugged in. Let's go try it, and you'll like it. Yeah, it sometimes you just have to say, no, you're coming.
Yeah, you are 100%. And as Steve points out, it's like that everywhere. It's the same in many industries and communities. It's an old boys club, and that unfortunately, hopefully it will change. Hopefully we can change with kids events and various other derbies and getting kids involved in tournaments and just stewards, just becoming stewards of. And I remember talking to a gentleman at our NeXgen event on Sunday, saying how important that is, and you really hammered that point home. That once you get them interested in fish and they have a love with fish, then they understand the importance of clean water and proper shorelines and habitat restoration and the maintaining of that habitat. So, as always, Lawrence, our time flies by, but I can tell you constantly inform us, educate us, and you make us all inspired. I'll tell you with the your adventures and your many initiatives, and I can't wait to see the finished product of this off the grid camp that you're putting together. I think it's awesome, dude.
Oh, and I can't wait to have a CFN event up there, my friend, and with you at the lead.
Oh, now we're talking. Never even thought of that. That would be awesome, dude. Yes, sir.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Even if it's just a CFN retreat for you and your trusted advisors, just somewhere to get away and, chew things over and say, okay, how are we going to solve this problem? What are we going to do next? And,
I love that idea. Right on. I love it. I'm going to definitely take you up with that on that, Lawrence. But in the meantime, you have yourself a great week. Thanks for all you do and all you are. And we look forward to seeing you next Monday, my friend.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. It's an honor and a treat, my friend. Thank you.
Appreciate it, dude. We have Jay Barnucz coming up right after a word from his sponsor.
Want to know the difference between power bait and other soft plastics? Ask the fish. Berkeley scientists have. Thousands of flavors tested on thousands of fish. Natural. Man-made. Every bait that's ever hit the water. No matter the shape, size, or color, power bait is the only one that is scientifically proven. Fish bite and will not let go.
Jay Dogs in the house. How you doing, Jay?
Great, buddy. How are you doing, Scottie?
Happy belated Father's Day, my friend.
Yeah, you too, brother. You too. It was it kind of snuck up on me this year to Father's Day. It's been such a busy couple months, but yeah, it was great. It was a great Father's Day.
And I noticed by some of the pics that we shared that you got out to enjoy some bucket mouth and bass opener.
Yeah, we had a good time. Like, bit of a story to tell, to be honest. It was quite the weekend. We thanks, Alicia. You know, of course, a lot of folks may not realize this, but where we live is zone 16 and 19. So 16 is like southwestern Ontario, even Lake Simcoe zone 16. It's a huge zone, and it's not open for bass season yet. It opens up this weekend, and also zone 19, which is Lake Erie. So I said to Trevor, I said, you know, let's go to the Kawarthas. And it was kind of a last minute trip, and we decided to make the run up. And yeah, we're happy we did. It worked out really well. Weather wasn't the best, and a lot of folks we talked to, those big storms that came through last week, like you probably saw some of the storm damage, like all across Ontario. I know Owen Sound got it particularly bad. But what happens after that, storms like that, is you get these, you know, post-frontal conditions, right? High skies, north wind. It was quite cold on both mornings, Saturday and Sunday. I want to say we crashed in Lindsay for a couple nights. It was probably each day it was single digits in the mornings, you know, and you know, you got to start out with the rain gear just to keep warm to start out. But then the sun would come out, and dude, it was like sun punch weather, if you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yep.
Just that sun's beating down on you, and the fish did not want to cooperate, to be honest. We fished the first day. We started fishing at 6 a.m. and we didn't get off the water till 8 at night. We fished 14 hours. So I was joking with you backstage before. So since my last November, I got a Fitbit, and the Fitbit was praising me all day. It was so happy. It's like, you're doing so good. And at one point, I got some weird notification on it, and I checked my app on my phone, and it's like, you just swam for 6 kilometers. And I'm like, what? Swimming? It's no, what the Fitbit thought was going on was I was swimming, but I was actually paddling. So the lakes that we fished this weekend, the 2 water bodies, were very shallow lakes and lots of vegetation. So you can't pedal very easily. So you paddle, and you're paddling into the wind. Almost, and I was joking with you about, it seemed like the wind it wasn't like gale force, but it was just enough to slow you down. Every time I'd move to a different area of the lake, the wind would change. So it felt like the wind was in my face all day, no matter which way I was going. But yeah, so the act of paddling, it thought I was swimming. So it's like, good for you. And I'm like, yeah, good for me. It was just
I'm surprised it didn't call 911 or get the Coast Guard involved, because as Steve said, 14 hours in a kayak. Yikes.
Yeah. Well,
wow.
So the new kayak, and we'll talk about that more down the road next week or two. So I picked up last week. I talked about the new kayak from Dosking, the Zeus, and this thing is a fishing machine. It's built for anglers, and what's cool about it is that I'm pretty tall. I'm 6'3", a big guy, and the new seat in it is higher and it swivels on it, right? So when I first got out in it, I wasn't used to being so high in a kayak, and I'm kind of top heavy. Like, I'm all torso. So it took a little bit of kind of getting my bearings when I started with it. but honestly, I love it. It's a great kayak. It's very stable. I'm able to stand in it if I want to. I don't like standing in a kayak. Like, it's kind of a personal choice, but it is nice a couple times just to be able to stand in it and like just kind of do one of these and kind of like stretch the body. When I was at the Classic this year, I bought a set of kayak cushions, and it's a company in North Carolina, and they sell these kayak cushions, and they have one for your butt, like a big square one you put on the bottom, and there's a lumbar one that goes on your back. I'm happy I bought the kayak cushion. They are, I would say they're a vital part of my kayak fishing right now. So, but yeah, we fished, I'll tell everyone, I don't care. So we fished Mitchell Lake on Saturday. Mitchell sits right between Canal and Balsam. Yeah. It's on the Trent Canal. And Mitchell is a very shallow lake. It's probably about an average depth of about 4 feet. There's some deeper water, but a lot of it's 3 to 4 feet deep, lots of weeds. And it was busy, dude. It was opening day, right? There was just people. I went to Mitchell because Mitchell, I knew it was going to be a little windy, and I figured, let's just go largemouth fishing. We are so spoiled for smallmouth close to where we live. So I said, let's go largie fishing. And I think some folks on this show know that I love largemouth fishing. Like, I think largemouth are a bigger challenge. Big fish are hard to catch no matter what you're after, but I do find that big largemouth are really hard to catch. They are, and I love that challenge. And so on Mitchell, we started out in the morning throwing frogs, and the bite was tough. They just did not want to chase. We did get into a cool pattern though, and I want to talk about it. So Mitchell has stumps, lots of stumps, and there's literally, you can't even see them all. Like, there's ones you don't see till you get over top of them. Like, you're like, there's another one. And some of these stumps are huge, like the size of like a car, like down below you. And the way we fish them is I would take, like, I love a swim jig, I love a flipping jig, and I'm flipping jigs and I'm swimming jigs past these stumps, banging them into the stumps. I couldn't get them to bite. And I had to go to my last resort, which is, dude, I'll just talk about it because Trevor likes to joke that I hate fishing with this. Wacky. I do not. I find that this is like desperation times. Okay. This is my new wacky rig rod. It's a John Cox signature series from Abbey, medium heavy 7 foot with the rocket reel. And I got the high vis line and the Berkeley General. And what I did was we went literally as like playing mini golf. I just went stump to stump with the wacky rig after flipping and pitching and swimming jigs by them. And that's how we started getting them, man. It was honestly, and we lost a lot. Like, we lost a lot of fish because they were getting wrapped around the stumps. But we got a few fish in that sort of 18-inch class, nothing over 19. But I saw bigger fish. And dude, like, you're in the kayak and you're so close to these stumps, and with a kayak, it's so cool because you can be so stealthy. Mm-hmm. And, I basically would sneak up to a stump and I would just I'd flip the wacky rig to the stump. And there was a couple times where we saw like big fish come out to the wacky rig and then turn back and go to the stump. Like, just teasing us, like, and legitimate big fish. These are probably 19, 20-inch fish. Wow. And there was a lot of choice words, but we learned a ton. And the wacky rig bite was pretty clutch, and based on the weather, with like, dude, there was no clouds at all.
Yeah.
And Mitchell, like a lot of these largemouth lakes, they're even right now, they're pretty stained up. Like, there's a bit of an algae bloom happening. Like, they're not crystal clear. And so it's kind of perfect for them. So you can get pretty close to them, but they were not in the mood. But the wacky rig really saved the day. We probably caught, I think we got about 20 bass between the two of us, all between like 14 and 18 inches. A lot of the bass are guarding fry. The beds are all abandoned. So bass that we did see are the fry balls are active, and there's fry balls and males. We weren't targeting, like, we weren't sight fishing them. We weren't that close to them, But a lot of the ones that we were catching, I'm pretty sure, were fry garters. And that's a tough time of year when the bass are in this transition. They're not set up for summer patterns yet. So, yeah, we had an absolute blast on Saturday, but that 14 hours kind of did me in. And then Sunday morning, the wind was going to switch from the north to the south. And so we went over to Sturgeon Lake on Sunday, and the wind did exactly what it was going to do, and it was blowing hard. And so in that kayak again, man, we were just struggling to get around. But I'm going to show you my favorite bait the last 2 years for fishing frogs. So this here is called the Spro Flapping Frog. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the new Fenwick 7.5 extra heavy, extra fast. Okay. 50-pound braid. And what I love about this frog is that on calm days, I love a hollow bodied frog, but I find when there's a ripple on the water, they don't tend to chase that frog down as much. This one, because it creates such a commotion on the surface as you retrieve it, those flapping legs, Scottie, it's just a totally different presentation to what they're used to. Now, Zoom and other companies make like a horny toad that have flapping legs, but you have to constantly retrieve it. And if you stop, it'll sink. This one, you stop it and it stops. It just floats on the surface. And so where we're fishing on Sunday, we were on sturgeon. And on sturgeon in these back bays, it is just the thickest weeds you can imagine. Like literally you can't, you can't even I can't even describe how thick some of this slop is. Like it's hard to even get through it without like a 1 ounce weight, but you can work these baits over top of that vegetation. And so we would just set up in the kayak, and dude, I ended up getting, so our quest every time we go out is a 20-inch bass. So that's about 5 pounds. And in most kayak tournaments, we weren't in a tournament, but 20 inches is like the threshold. If you can get a 20-incher, that's a solid fish. Wow. And I was lucky enough to get a 20 and a quarter, my biggest largemouth in a kayak, which surpassed my biggest smallmouth, which was 20 inches exactly. And I've caught bigger fish than that in my life, but from a kayak, it's a unique challenge for sure to do that. But what's really cool, buddy, is I got to share this picture if I can. So that should be sharing. So on Sunday morning was Father's Day. Okay. Trevor shared the picture on the left in his story on Instagram. That picture, Trevor's, I think, 5 years old. Okay. No. That picture's from Sturgeon Lake. That's a Canada Day Big Bass Derby that I entered at the campground where we stayed. The fish on the left is a 4.3 pound, 4 pounds, 3 ounces. The one on the right is a 5 pound, 13 ounce largemouth, just shy of 6 pounds. So that's one of my favorite pictures of Trevor. And he shared that photo. So the fish I caught on Sunday from the same area was that fish on the right. And I said to Trevor, I said, did you have any idea that photo that you shared to wish me happy Father's Day was the photo from sturgeon? And he goes, I never thought about it till right now. So there you go. Like, well, isn't that cool? So almost 10 years to the day, I caught a 513 on sturgeon. And that one there, I don't think that one I caught was 513. I think but it's over 5. It's probably around 5.5. But yeah. Solid.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I feel the same. That's amazing. What a crazy story.
Almost the same spot. I remember it because I can't tell you what I'm doing this weekend, but I can tell you where I caught a fish, right? 10 years ago. And
I have the same, I have the same allergy, same condition. Yeah. And there's no cure for it. Just so you know, Jay, you probably already know there's no cure for
there's no helping us, man.
Useless and unimportant information. Yes. It's an epidemic and it's running wild for all of us.
So it was, dude, it was just a great weekend. We shout out to Heather and Stephanie because Father's Day is usually we all hang out and we all do Father's Day stuff. I used to actually do a big fish fry here. But, at the end of the day, when we, when I kind of got, I'm going to just say Heather's not permission, but her blessing. She's like, no, you go fishing. We'll see you Sunday. And it's great. We had a great time. We were back home by around 3:00 yesterday and had a nice supper last night. And we're set for fishing stories for a while. And we're all warmed up for the local bass opener this weekend. So
very cool.
It was great,
Very
man.
cool.
Great.
Well, there's a couple things here that I want to get your input on. I didn't realize this about the Zoom horny toad. I'm going to say that's what it's supposed to say is horny toad.
Yep.
If you give it some slack, it spirals down like a tube. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it has a cool shape. I don't have one here, but it basically it looks like a tube, and it's got two kicker legs on it. So you cast it out, and you just have to basically start retrieving and keep your rod tip up, and those two legs just kick across the water. It's a great bait. It is. And when you stop it, so when a lot of times when you're fishing shallow largemouth, and this happened quite a bit on the weekend, they'll wake it. Like you'll see them coming up behind it. Like you're fishing in such shallow water that they actually move the water behind them. So with the horny toad, what's cool and why the horny toad sometimes was better than like a hollow bodied frog. A hollow bodied frog, you stop it stays on the surface. Whereas a horny toad, if you stop it, it'll sink and it'll spiral down. So if something's chasing it and you just stop, it's right in their face and they grab it.
That's awesome.
So it is a great bait, George. I agree. It's a bait that a lot of people don't use anymore, and it used to be a real popular bait, and it's one that I think people should pick up, especially when you're fishing that shallow largemouth. When you have, I'm going to say target rich environment. Does that make sense, Scottie?
Yeah.
So
very much so.
go to a bay or a creek or whatever, and it's just like, where do I start? Like you have stumps and lily pads and wild rice and milfoil, and it's just target rich environment. And you can usually put together a pattern, and that pattern could be, so if the bay is dominant with wild rice, but there's stumps, okay, and then there's patches of lily pads and there's patches of milfoil, and you'll even get patches of you'll actually get openings in the wild rice. We always talk about the openings.
Yeah.
In the Kawartha Lakes, a lot of times those openings are there for a reason, because there's usually a stump there or a piece of wood that the vegetation can't grow up. So you got to take all that wild rice kind of out of your mind and be like, okay, what are these fish relating to? Are they relating to the lily pads? Are they relating to the stumps? Are they relating to the holes? Sometimes it's also like a part of the weed bed. So some of the places we fished in some of the creeks on Sunday, it was like a stair step. So there was right against the shore of the creek. It was like it's called chara, but it's like that skunk, hard skunky weed. It's really clear. But then the riverbank, as it sloped out to the channel, it would be like a 3 or 4 foot ledge, and it would just be like slop, like milfoil, coontail, bladderwood, and then it would drop into the channel. And a lot of the bigger fish were not up on the top flat; they were on that shelf. So, and you would see them, but what you would do is, as you cast up shallow, you'd bring it to the edge of the slop, and you pause it, and that's where they would be. And that slop was probably about maybe only 20 or 30 feet wide, but you would what we did was you use the wind to your advantage, Scottie, and you're with a kayak. So you would let the current the wind would drift you down this creek, and you would just cast, and I would just keep working that slop. And I can't stress this enough. When you're fishing a target-rich environment, you have to fish it all. So if I'm in a good area, and that's what's important about a long rod, like a 7.5 rod, really gets good casting distance, right? And so what you want to do is, and I learned this from a young age, it's like the hands of the clock, right? You want to just hit your angle. So in your area, so I'm in a creek channel, the channel's behind me. I kind of got like a 180 view, right? And all the fish I caught, I swear I caught them because I was like, I'm going to cast here, I'm going to cast here, I'm going to cast. And I would work that 180, and then I'd pull out, I would move up or down the creek to where I wasn't fishing and do another. And I was methodical about it. And I've always been like that in those. If you don't have a pattern to run because you haven't figured it out, that's about the only way. But once you pay attention to where you're getting your hits, or you're catching fish, or you're seeing activity, like we saw a lot of bass like chasing frogs up shallow. Like there was a lot of frogs in the wetland where we were.
Cool.
So just paying attention to what's going on around you, man. Like there's so much you can learn when you're over. I kept saying to Trevor, I'm overstimulated in this place. There's too much going on. You got to take a kind of look at it all, right? So
Steve also mentioned the gambler's cane toad. I'm not familiar with that, but I'm sure you are.
Yeah. So it's another flapping style bait, and you just work it on the surface. You don't have to work it directly on the surface, but you just work it over the top, and it just creates a commotion. And I think that's important the thing about a frog is that, and I was talking to a couple guys before the show, the frog is addictive. Like that blow up, like when I caught that one on Sunday, like it was that. So sometimes they'll come up and slurp it, but the big ones, they like shark it. And when they hit, it's like an explosion, man. Just boosh, gone. And without the right tackle, dude, you can't get them in. Like that fish, I fully had the rod, like, so I set the hook, I reeled down, I set, and I couldn't skip it. It's too heavy, but it was wallowing all the way. It was trying to go down, and I'm just like this. And Trevor said from a distance, he was laughing his ass off because like he just saw me arched way back, and I'm just cranking that 50-pound braid like as hard as I can. Now, another thing to keep in mind is, so this is a 7-to-1 reel. It's not the fastest reel. But as you go up in reel speed, you lose some torque. Does that make sense, Scottie? It's a trade-off. I'll get more torque in a 7-to-1 than an 8-to-1 or a 9-to-1. So when I'm frog fishing, when I'm frog fishing, I really like like not a slow speed, but like a 7 or a 7.5 to 1 is my favorite because I get more torque. If I try to fish it with a high speed, like a Revo Rocket, which is 9-to-1, I don't get the same torque in that as I do with one of these in that heavy cover. Yeah. So, and a lot of guys might go with 65 or even 80-pound braid. I know for frogs, I like 50. I don't break off on 50, and I can cast 50 better. I can cast it further, and I can also do more with it. Like if I want to skip it under something, or 50 is more supple than 65. So
interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Jay, I got to get your opinion on a couple things. Steve, he uses 65, but this was a plastic. I've never seen this done. Certainly not with a twister tail, but just your take on this. It opens up my eyes to a whole bunch of possibilities. I've seen this done before. But what he does next, truly, and his name is Kawan Mansing. Mm-hmm. This is interesting.
Okay. So that's actually a frog style hook.
Now wait till you see this.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Can't say I've ever seen that.
Yeah. So what to me, so that's a very typical hook. What you could take, and I forget what style of hook they call that, but a lot of companies call them a frog hook. So you have 2 points on it, and you could take just about any bait that you have and make it into basically a frog. So that's a cool. So because you have 2 upturned points, right, and they're fused together. Some of them actually have a little weight in between the two hook arches, and so you could actually like reel it. You can let it sink, but also too you can just work it on the surface. Yeah, that's right, Alicia. Absolutely. Yeah.
Original bait. Well, I want to thank Mitch Bolduc for sending that to me, but I can honestly say I've never seen that, but used to do that 20 years ago for pike, and that's the thing. I would look at that as more of a pike bait than anything else.
You know, Ed, one of my favorite baits I used to use for pike like years ago, and I don't even know why we don't do this anymore, is the old El Porco. Uncle Josh made like a
El Porco, yeah.
Like it was like a long piece of pork rind that was coiled, and you could hook that on a lure, or you could just retrieve that on its own. There's a big piece of pork about that long, and it was like a giant twister tail, and it would just spiral through the water. The El Porco from Uncle Josh. I used to love that.
I do remember that.
You would use hooks like that. Yeah, that's cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
One other, and if I am not clear on my knots, so forgive me if I've just missed the boat on this, but this kit went completely over my head. But when I looked at it, I thought, this is so easy. Have a look. For tying two types of line together. Now, I don't know if this would work for fluorocarbon and braid, but look how this ends up.
That's basically That's basically a double uni knot.
Well, that's initially what I thought it may be, but
yeah,
I mean, now, do you think that something like this would work for fluoro and braid? Because to me, this is the easiest knot there is.
Yeah, it would. The thing about the double uni knot, and that's so what they're doing there is they're doing a double surgeon to hold the two ends together. Yeah. So when you're doing a double uni, you got two ends, and think about tying a new knot is figuring out what to do with your fingers and your lips, because you're trying to maneuver all those things together, right? Like, I'm not joking, it's true. So I think that what they've done by joining those two ends together, then you don't have to worry about where they rest. The thing about the double uni, though, which I find, so I've gone with a modified Alberto. I haven't quite. I can tie an FG knot, but I'm not good at it on the fly. I haven't spent enough time doing it. So a lot of my leaders are like on my wacky rig. It's a modified Alberto knot, right? So you take your fluorocarbon, you make a loop, you wrap it, go back down 6 or 7 times, go back 6 or 7 times, pull it through. Thing about knots when you're joining is that you want as thin of a profile as possible to go through your guides. Not only for small guides, but also less friction when you're casting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That uni knot, it's a pretty bulky knot. It's easy to tie. It's strong. I can't even remember the last time I broke off on a uni knot.
Mm-hmm.
But they are definitely like a thicker knot, the way the two uni knots come together, and it makes it pretty thick, so it doesn't want to slide through, especially when you're using like lighter leader and lighter braid, and you want to make long casts. Yeah, I agree, Sparkus. It is the knot. I just need to spend more time doing it. Mm-hmm. The modified Alberto will work well, but if you're using a lot of the higher end rods, ones that I have and a lot of my friends are using, I'm going to tell you, the FG knot is good for micro guides or smaller guides that a lot of rods are getting now. And the guides are smaller because it's actually helping to cut down a lot of the weight on the rods by having smaller guides. The issue, though, is that when you're running a leader, is that knot it doesn't get stuck, but it creates friction as it ticks its way through. So that knot there that they did, I'll use a double uni like that if I'm using like really big leader and really big fluoro, really big main line, where I'm not too worried about it. And I have maybe like a catfish rod where the rod is like really big guides, but that's a bit of a bulky knot to squeeze through some of the stuff that we're using for, like, I'm thinking about smallmouth fishing, right, Scottie, with like a shot or a hair rig or something like that. When you're using like 6-pound test leader, maybe like an 8-pound or a 10-pound braid. So, but yeah, that's an easy way to tie a uni knot, a double uni. And I think that for a lot of folks out there, don't be afraid to use a double uni. It's easy to tie and it works well. It's strong. It's a strong knot. It's reliable and easy to tie. So
I'm with Steve though. That's why I use swivels. And I'm with you, Steve. I totally agree.
I love swivels for steelhead and stuff, but when it comes to bass, I won't use a swivel. I can't stand the sound of that ticking its way. Like I don't want that swivel anywhere near my guides. And the thing about
100%. Yeah, I mean, usually when I have a leader on a fluorocarbon, it's no more than say 24 inches, just for the sake of being able to catch. But yeah, no, as I said, when it comes to all these knots, I have fat sausage fingers, and sometimes it would be easy if they were all 3/8 poly rope for me to tie it. But with this finite stuff, and of course the glass is on because you can't see anymore. It's like it takes away the fun half the time.
Sometimes the swivels are not the best quality swivels either, I've found, and they're just in the way. Like they're not preventing much line twist. They're just kind of there. But one thing I like about tying a leader too is I don't know if maybe it's a superstition, not really a pet peeve, but I want to have enough leader out that when I'm fighting a fish and I'm getting that fish close to the boat, I want my leader knot in my reel. So when that fish goes to go, like that's usually when they do a last minute surge, I want that knot in my reel. So minimum, I'm tying, if I have a 7-foot rod, it's probably 15 feet of leader, and I won't keep it at 15 as I cut and retie during the day. It might get a little shorter, of course, but that's usually what I start with is a 15-foot leader, which seems like a lot, but I like that knot in my spool. So when that fish goes for a surge, I'm not worried about that knot going through my guides and causing any, getting hung up anywhere. Right.
Yeah.
So,
Perfect. Now I follow this gentleman out on the East Coast. There is a phenomenon going on right now, and no one really seems to know what it is. There's a lot of interesting guesses that are in the comments. I wanted your take. I know this is saltwater, may not exactly be in your wheelhouse, but I thought you might be able to offer an explanation better than I could, because I have a guess, but I don't think I'm even close.
Interested on the surface of the water. I don't really know exactly what it is, but the whole ocean is full of it this morning. All day, all over the radio, everybody's been talking about it. We see it a little bit here and there, but today it's extremely thick. There's some kind of eggs.
Holy!
Maybe somebody knows. You can see inside of them, they got some blue, whatever it is. I don't know, some kind of fish eggs.
Yeah.
There's some kind of eggs, I don't know. Maybe somebody can tell us. But there's a lot of them.
Any guesses?
Well, they're definitely fish eggs, and there's a lot of marine species so in the marine systems, they have, like, we're used to fish that spawn on the bottom, right? So whether you're, you could be a bass building a nest, or a bluegill. You could be a pike or a perch where they're casting their eggs, but they're adhering or sticking to vegetation. Walleye will broadcast spawn onto rocks over well oxygenated water. But in marine systems, a lot of fish are pelagic spawners, meaning they spawn in the open ocean. They literally come together in schools and spawn, and their eggs are actually made to float. They don't sink. And that's how the fish literally move around. And then their fry, when they hatch, the fry are free drifting, much like, with walleye. When the walleye fry hatch, and once the egg sacs are absorbed, they're free floating, dude. They're just gone in the current, right? They're going to find their way somewhere else. And that's how a lot of marine fish spawn. And so I'm guessing that's what that is. That's just, they literally came across probably over a recent spawning event, and it could be, and who knows what kind of fish it was, but that's probably very common in those marine systems.
Interesting. I had a take that perhaps, I don't know how jellyfish reproduce, but I'm wondering if those are young jellyfish eggs. I'm not up on my jellyfish, but when you see that many and they're clear and they only have a small dot in the middle, Yeah, right away, I would say the same. Those are fish eggs.
Yeah.
What species? I wouldn't even begin to guess. I have no
They're
idea.
pretty big eggs, to be
Yeah.
honest. So probably a larger species, I would think. Like what a lot of folks, what people don't realize is that we talk about fish life history strategy. So a life history strategy is, okay, how do I reproduce, and what is the best way to reproduce based on who I am? So if I'm a smallmouth bass or a largemouth bass, I'm going to build a nest and I'm going to guard it. Okay. Now a bass, those two species, and all sunfish species, rock bass, bluegill, pumpkin seed, they don't produce a lot of eggs for their body size in relative to other species, right? So largemouth and smallmouth will say, okay, I'm going to produce, let's say 10,000 eggs, and which isn't a lot based on their body size, but the eggs are usually larger. So what fish will do is they will invest energy in, we're not going to make as many eggs, but we're going to guard the hell out of this nest. That's what we're going to do. That's our life history strategy. We've evolved. This is the best way to reproduce. Let's jump to a walleye, right? Walleye, their strategy, we're going to make a whole bunch more eggs.
Yep.
And by making, so, let's say hypothetically a 5-pound bass makes 10,000 eggs. A 5-pound walleye might make 50,000 eggs, 100,000 eggs, right? I know some of the big ones, I've heard numbers of like 200,000 eggs in some big females. And basically, but there's no parental care. It's eggs, sperm, off you go. Good luck. See you later. I'm going to come back next year. That's their parenting style. That's their life history strategy, right? And so different species have different strategies. So for that fish, that species, and those are big eggs, man. Like I'm thinking, like, what are those? Like tuna eggs or like?
Yeah, like that's what I'm thinking.
It depends 100%. On where. I'm not. That was in. You said that was in the Maritimes, right?
Yeah, I think he ports in Maine, and he's just off the coast of Maine. So I was thinking stripers. I was thinking tuna. Like I have no idea. But to your point, they were large, man. Holy smokes! They're
big eggs. Yeah, big eggs for sure. And probably, and they also need perfect conditions. So they probably just were released. And a lot of fish respond to marine fish, I think more so. They're really dialed into weather patterns and moon phases and things like that. I think that our freshwater fish that we chase, they're dialed into that as well, but not as much as marine species. So when you get a certain moon at a certain time of year, and these fish come from deep and they spawn at the surface, and they have these mass aggregations of spawning, and then they all leave and don't come back till the next year, and they just broadcast spawn their eggs and sperm together, and off they go. That's their big strategy.
Speaking of nests, Caleb Johnson shared a video this past week in regards to smallies and guarding nests and the goby problem on Lake Simcoe. What was interesting, of course, is something that we already know, that the minute a smallie leaves the nest, it's susceptible to being eaten, or at least the eggs being eaten by gobies. More so now, in Caleb's opinion, than ever before. But as a guide that takes people out, he's reconsidering, fishing fish on nests for that reason.
Yeah.
And it was great to hear that. It was refreshing to hear that, because let's face it, I mean, they do this for the sake of making money, but they're rethinking their approach for the sake of the fishery. Remarkable.
Yeah, so the thing about bass, there's a lot of assumptions made, and some of these assumptions are being made by, like, I don't know everything about bass, and I've studied bass, and I don't even study bass as much as some of my other friends like Bruce Tufts and others who are like the bass experts. And when you talk to some of those folks, they'll talk to you about not every bass spawns every year. Okay. Some bass might try spawning and then stop because the conditions got drastically different. But even the ones who are successfully spawning are now dealing with round goby. And I saw some comments on that video, and I like the video. I do. And I think it's a great education. There's some old videos. They're not that old, but from, I think, around 2017, Bruce Tufts put some videos out showing gobies. but you actually can't see in those videos, like the quality's not great, so you can't see how invasive the gobies are, like invading the nest.
Yeah.
But that video, it's obvious. They're just swarming that nest. And
Well, you could see the fish laying the eggs, and the gobies actually like engorging them as they're coming out of the female. That was incredible.
yeah. And I think what's important to note is that, you know, there's people out there, and they're not wrong when they say this, but you got to consider all variables. So, and what some folks are saying is, well, they've been there a long time now. The smallies are getting bigger. This is just the new way of doing things. But that's not really the case, because smallies live a long time. They're a long-lived fish. Gobies have only been in Lake Simcoe since like 2005, so 20 years. That's only like 2 generations of bass. Two. Like, if the average smallmouth is 10 years old, let's hypothetically saying, it's probably close to that. That's only 2 generations. You may not see negative, like real impacts from goby. It might take longer than that. We may not ever see it, but I think that being aware, we can change how we manage seasons. We can, you know, some of the comments in the chats are great, where we're going to manage it based on water temperature. We're going to manage it, you know, instead of date, right? The reality, though, is that we have to manage ourselves, right? And we have to make the difference. And if we don't want to, if we want better spawning, then we just don't fish on beds. We go fish somewhere else. But we can't control that, so we have to close the season, right, for a longer period of time. This is why in Lake Ontario, in the Zone 20, where we actually have largemouth opens this Saturday, but smallmouth that's wrong. Largemouth opened this past weekend, but smallmouth opens 2 weeks later. And this video is one of the reasons why is those bass are still on beds, and we need those bass to protect their fry, because even when you have adults on the bed, you can't protect from all the gobies because there's so many of them, right? That's the big issue. And you know, when we're at the mercy of Mother Nature too. The bass are dealing with not just gobies, but weather patterns and time of year, and oh man, they have so much to deal with, let alone gobies. So 100%. It's a problem, and we're not getting rid of the gobies. They're here to stay. So we might have to change how we manage smallmouth bass if we start to see declines in recruitment. Now, at the same time, look what's happening up in Nipissing. Like, we have incredible bass fishery where they've opened the season on the May long weekend. I think that's awesome, but Nipissing doesn't have a goby issue, right? So it's one less thing to worry about, but there's other things we have to be concerned about. But I think the Nipissing season is a great concept to test and try to get fish, to get pressure off the walleye, right, Scottie?
100%.
Right. So
some great comments here too. Craig saying, you know, we are the most southern area, and the last open makes no sense. And you know, Quinn, to his point, basically just reaffirms Craig's. Like, we desperately need to change our seasons based on water temp, spawning conditions, and not just a hard date in a calendar. I do have to agree, because a lot of these dates didn't or weren't affected by what we're seeing now with the weather patterns and invasive species.
I think that, so in Ontario, there's a few things that play here. Number one, we don't have enough good data from all the zones. The reason why Zone 20, Zone 18, Zone 17 were updated was because we have good information. We don't have as much good data. That's my understanding from Lake Erie, Lake St. Clair, and Zone 16. That's why they keep it the way it is. Also, you know, I think about just locally here, you know, Bass Opener, which is this weekend, it's as big a day as Canada Day down here. Like, it is insanity how many people go fishing. And I think in Long Point Bay, I'll use that as an example, but Long Point Bay is unique in Lake Erie because it's a huge spawning area for smallmouth, and it's been known for that for decades. Hence why half the bay is a sanctuary from basically Mother's Day until this Saturday. For 6 weeks, you can't even fish in that area. Like, it's not just you can't catch bass. You can't even throw a line in the water. And it's half of the inner bay of Long Point, which is a huge sanctuary. Okay.
Yeah.
If you were to open up that earlier, I think that in certain years, those bass are still going to be in that sanctuary. In fact, that's where most people fish, is in that sanctuary when season opens, right?
Makes sense.
And dude, they're not, a lot of folks aren't releasing those bass they're catching. They're harvesting. The fact that Long Point Bay still produces fish the way it does is incredible. But it tells you how important that sanctuary is, probably, right? If we didn't have that sanctuary, so what I'm saying is, if we were to open up the season earlier, how do we manage that sanctuary? You know, if there's still fish in there, maybe we got to keep the sanctuaries closed for an extra week or two. But now you have to enforce that, right? Even today, dude, I took we had to go to a doctor's appointment tonight. Stephanie's still got the sprained ankle. Things went for a follow-up. So we're there, and the nurse at the doctor's office, of course, dude, I can't go anywhere around here without talking fishing. Like, the nurse, she's like, so Jason, when does bass season open again? Because I saw you on Facebook. I'm like, no, I was up in the courts. I was like, people don't, the ones who don't fish every day, and some of these folks only fish on bass opener, like it's like a fishing holiday.
Mm-hmm.
The seasons are confusing. The opening days are confusing to folks, and I hope it shouldn't be, but it is confusing. And so I think that it'd be nice to have it more across the board, but we just don't have enough information. So I feel for all the comments that we should have a more streamlined bass season in Ontario, but we don't. And the fact that, yes, we are warmer down here, I would assume, but I don't think they have the data to show that yet. Not like the data that was provided by Bruce Tufts and others for Lake Ontario and Bay of Quinte, unfortunately.
100%. And Sean, to your point, you're right. Proper handling and respect to the fish certainly doesn't hurt either.
Yeah.
Again, it's interesting to see a guide who perhaps might take money out of his own pocket by saying what he said, but standing up for something that he thinks is right, and certainly bringing others to the forefront to do the same. So big shout out to Callum. That is forward thinking, in my opinion, in a huge way. Jay, as always, my friend, our time flies, but I would like to know, what do you have planned this weekend and upcoming?
Well, I got to give a big shout out, and this is really important. I'm going to put a couple of posts here in the chat. So this is the LPA Big Bass Derby. So what this is for probably the last 40 years, the Long Point Bay anglers have hosted the Big Bass Derby. And now, it used to be the Long Point Fishing Game Club. I'm going to do one more post to Facebook. Okay, so the Big Bass Derby was something that's always gone on down here, and it's $10. Now it's $15 now. First place smallmouth, $1,000 cash. First place largemouth, $1,000 cash. It's a derby. So not all fish are brought back alive. Majority are. And the Long Point Bay anglers, in partnership with the Erie Bassmasters, are using this as a fundraiser. One, to raise money for the Long Point Bay anglers. The money goes back into their live release boat to maintenance every year. Costs money. We actually have to have insurance on the boat, like all these things. But we also do donations to local charities. We've done the Hospital Foundation, food banks. So all of it goes to charity. And this event is basically, even if you're not going to fish Long Point Bay and enter the Derby, it's $15 that goes to a great cause. I can't stress enough about it. So I'm not fishing on Saturday. I'm going to be down setting up banners at the McDonald Turkey Point Marina. That's where the weigh-in will be, in Turkey Point, Ontario. And I'll be there for the day. Trevor will be helping me out, a bunch of great volunteers. This year, so traditionally we used to always sell the tickets at the ramps, and we are doing that. So if you get to a ramp, and dude, Scottie, you know these guys, they'll be there at 4 a.m. Like so Old Cut, Marina Shores, Collins Harbor, all the ramps around the bay will have ticket sales happening for $15. So bring your cash. But we also have an online through Ticket Scene. We're doing an online ticket as well for folks that you can't get to the local tackle shop. You can't get down to the ramp in the morning, and you just want to have a QR code on your phone. We went online this year too. So we'll have cash tickets and online tickets. And if you finish in the top 10, I can promise you're going to get a prize. Most of the prizes are donations. Some of them are cash or a combination of rods and reels and cash, tackle and cash. And honestly, like basically if you can catch a bass over 4 pounds, you'll probably make it in the top 10. But to win, you're going to have something close to 5. That's usually how it goes. So Long Point Bay anglers all day on Saturday, they'll be doing updates on their Facebook page about who's caught what and standings updates. So if you want to bring your fish in, but you don't have to come in, Scottie. You can buy your ticket.
That's awesome.
And you can follow along online. And if you don't catch a big one that day, don't bring it in. Just leave it. Keep fishing. But if you get a big one, bring it in. And if it's alive, we'll release it for you. We'll put it in the oxygen spa. It's going to hang out with his friends in the tank and get all full oxygen. And then the Long Point Bay anglers will release it for you when it's done. So that's on Saturday. So that's a big day locally for here. And after that, Trevor's got exams on Monday, Tuesday. So that's kind of putting a damper on fishing, Scottie. He's actually got some friends upstairs tonight. They're doing some math review. So he's got to buckle down and get his grades up a little bit. Well, that's all parents say that. I'm saying it too. Heather and I say it all the time. So I think he was happy this past weekend I think my words for him was, get this out of your system because you got 2 exams basically on Bass Opener weekend, like Monday, Tuesday. But once it's done, once those exams are done, then we're in full summer mode. So we are ready to rock, man.
That's awesome.
One more week, kid, and then it's summertime bass fishing. So.
That's awesome. Jay, as always, my friend, thanks so much for sharing your time with us and educating us on things that we need to know and we can get involved in. But for the most part, answering some questions that perhaps most of us don't know.
Yeah, and folks, reach out anytime. I'm always ready to talk about fish and fisheries and whatever. I'm a bit of a generalist. I'm an expert of a little bit of everything, but no expert on one thing. So happy to talk.
That's awesome. Great. Thanks for your time and have yourself a great week. And hopefully the boy upstairs does really well on his exams. Yeah. Well, when I talk to you next week, we'll be right in the bowels of exams. So yeah, it'll be 2 weeks before we find out, but let's hope he gets it done. So thanks everyone for seeing you tonight. And hopefully we see you Saturday. If not, follow along on my Facebook page and Instagram, and we'll be showing lots of cool updates. Thanks, guys. Right on, Jay. You take care of yourself. Always a pleasure, always an honor to have Jay on our show. We are going to be doing the NeXgen raffle giveaway to find out who our winners are momentarily, but we're going to actually it won't be our first prize, but it's going to be one of the prizes that we're going to be giving away. I just want to give a shout out to one of our sponsors for giving up a great prize pack.
When it comes to Canadian food, we've got your back with flavors like lemon pepper, beer batter, campfire barbecue, lemon pepper dill, garlic butter and chives, and crispy Cajun. We've got a mix for every meal. Whether you're serving East Coast shrimp, West Coast salmon, succulent walleye, chicken wings, or veggies, we've got you covered. Coat your food in outdoor flavors. Available online or at these fine retailers.
Right on. Well, as you mentioned, or as you saw, we mentioned that we had the NeXgen, or at least the first of 2 NeXgen events this weekend. There has been a lot of fundraising that has gone on. We've had some great sponsors that have stepped up in a huge way. But this basically is the end of our sponsor drive, or our fundraising drive. and it was a good enough success. But what I'm truly thankful for is CFN are stepped up in a huge way. And on behalf of NeXgen and everybody that's involved with it, thanks so much for your donations. We have some great prizes that are going to be given away, and I'm going to go through the list of them right now just so you folks can see them, because again, I'd be honored to win any of these. Of course, the Outdoor Flavors is one prize pack that we're going to be giving away on behalf of CFN. It is a Scottie pack. I will show, actually, what I'll do is I'll show it to you, because there's some new additions to the Scottie pack. If you don't know, they have beer batter. They have the garlic, butter, and chive, which is a favorite, especially if you love your roasted chicken. Lemon pepper, great for any fish fry. Also, the lemon pepper dill. This can go well with certain kind of casseroles. If you do like a potato casserole, mackerel casserole, that can be delicious with it. Campfire barbecue, if you're into fries, this really is good with just about anything. I would say this is probably my second favorite, just because it adds so much flavor to so much. And anybody who knows and has been watching, they know how much I love the crispy Cajun. New to the Scottie pack is, of course, some of the spices that go along with it. This is zesty Italian. This is great for salads, chickens, pork, really anything, even roasted vegetables. We have the sweet heat. This is my favorite for cranking up that. This, in addition to the crispy Cajun, absolutely delicious. And I know Terry's got some that he's been doing some great recipes with. This is chicken and rib, very similar to I would say most of the chicken and rib spices that are out there. So, but as I said, there's no artificial flavors, there's no MSG, there's no other byproducts that you don't like. This is the one that I really love for chicken. The Greek Gourmet. This is great on salads too. If you're doing a pasta salad or like a dill type salad, this kicks it up a notch. So this prize pack is going to be available, as well as many others, including the Thirsty Lures prize pack, and I'll show you that momentarily. Again, all those who bought tickets, I can't thank you enough. You are helping a fantastic cause. This is the Thirsty Lure, and for those who love their musky fishing, this bad boy is going to be up for sale. Thanks so much to Frank Thurston. And of course, those are the trebles that go along with it. But look at the detail and look at the colors. It's gorgeous stuff. Also, our good friends over at Handlebars Lures gave us some swag. This is a towel and, of course, a $100 gift certificate inside. So any purchase towards a Handlebars, $100 of it will be paid on behalf of Handlebars Lures. We also have some incredible prints. That's Doug holding one of them. If you were at the Sportsman Show and you came to the NeXgen booth, you would have seen all these prints being sold beside us. All of the prints that they sold, they handed over $300 to NeXgen. So big shout out to the folks over at Art for Cause. They do these raffles. They do these giveaways. When you see an easel at Canadian Tire and it's a silent bid, these are the folks that are doing it. And the fact that they have signed on with us is awesome. The other one is we have 2 of these portable inflatable paddle boards. And I just want you to know, if this fat arse can get on one of these, you can. So don't think for a second that, you might be a little bit too big, a little bit too heavy. These will hold up me. But they're hard as rock. You wouldn't even know that they're filled with air once they're pumped up. Absolutely amazing. And then, of course, last but not least, this is really something. This is an e-bike sponsored by Demon Power Sports. This is something. Mitch Balduke has one just like this, and it runs on electricity. It's remarkable how fast it goes. It's all terrain. It's really something, but it is power assist, and we're giving it away. And I think it's got a sticker price of just over $2,000. So for a $10 ticket, you manage to put yourself in contention to win one of these. So this is, of course, all those who have shared and supported. We have all of the names here on the right. Anybody that bought a ticket later, as you can see, Mark Wolf, you bought 2 tickets later. Some people bought multiple tickets, and you're all on the wheel. And all I need to know now to find out who is going to win some of this incredible stuff that has been provided by some really, really cool sponsors that we just can't thank enough. I can't honestly thank these folks enough. Can someone give me a number between, can you mount the 9? No, Mark. You can't, unfortunately, but as I said, they're big enough to hold me, so you're good. Whose pockets do I got lined? Sorry, Sean. How do I qualify to win this prize pack? Unfortunately, the date has already expired. We will be doing more of these, but yeah, you're not fat, Scottie. You're thick, Sean. I love you, buddy. That's the nicest thing anybody said to me today. All right. Our first number that popped up was Ed McKenzie, so we are going to shuffle the deck 5 times before we start spinning the wheel. So here we go. Shuffle the deck. Once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and 5th time's a charm. I want to say good luck to all. And the first prize up, I don't pay attention, buddy. So it's all good, Sean. Don't worry, man. You're busy with your dipshit outdoors, and you know what? We appreciate the entertainment that it provides us. I think it's going to be, as I said, the Moose. I think that dipshit outdoors is going to become more popular than OFC and CFN combined. So keep up the great work, dude. All right, here we go. The first spin of the wheel to find out who, in fact, is going to take home the handlebars prize pack. Here we go. We're going to spin the wheel. Find out who it is. Again, it's a great towel for those who have, the tight, the musky. You get that slide coat on. This is a great towel to just buckle to your belt and keep your hands clean and perhaps your gear, as well as, in addition to a $100 gift certificate to purchase some handlebars product. Who is the winner of the handlebars gift pack? Is it going to be Richard? It's Richard Elliott. Right on. Richard Elliott managed to win the handlebars prize pack, courtesy, of course, Handlebars Musky Lures. And again, Richard, congratulations, man. You are our first winner. So we're going to remove that name because he's won 1. And what up next is the Thirsty Lures prize pack. Of course, I will play that. I'll show you that. It is, again, that one lure. Frank is an amazing guy, huge heart, and always gives back to the community. But it is an absolutely beautiful bait for those who love their muskie. This is one of those go-to. This is a must-have. So let's find out who's going to be showing this bad boy off. Congratulations to Richard for the handlebars. This is for the Thirsty Lures. Let's find out who our winner is. Is it Tony? Is it Richard Elliott again? No. Rocco Pico Trade. Rocco Scarani. Rocco, he is one of the board of directors with NeXgen. I'm sure he's probably going to give this to somebody else, but needless to say, Rocco, congratulations, my friend. It is a great lure, and Rocco doesn't get out fishing all that much, so I bet you he's going to donate this back. But in the meantime, Rocco, congratulations. All right. Up next is the Scotty's Outdoor Scottie Pack. We're going to find out who wins this. Let's spin the wheel. All the spices, all the proteins for your next fish fry or anything else that you're going to barbecue, smoke, This Scottie pack will serve you well. It has everything you can possibly need when it comes to spices and coatings. It's all delicious. It's all fun. And looking forward to seeing who's going to win this. Could it be? Is it possible? She's Shop Family. Is it Haley? Could it be Trisha? It keeps going. It is, in fact, Trisha. Trisha Wallace. Congratulations, Trisha. You will love this. This is absolutely delicious, and I'm honored that you won our prize pack. And, of course, thanks for your donation. All right. We're getting into some of the big prizes. So let us do one of the paddle boards first. Again, these are big enough. They're portable. They blow up. You can take them anywhere, and they're sturdy as heck, durable as heck. So, again, big shout out to Marine Tech for the donation on that. But this is going to be something, and we got 2 of them to give away. Let's find out who the first one is to get one of these paddle boards. Some great names. Look at this list. Some great names. Big shout out to our CFN. I am so happy and glad to be able to give back to our community in a huge way. And these are some phenomenal prizes. Great names, big names. All right, who we got? Is it Jim Fowler? Is it Richard Elliott? Richard Elliott wins again. Right on, Richard. Richard Elliott wins one of the paddle boards, and I will say for some of that slack water that he goes, won't be such a bad idea to tow this along and maybe target some of those backwater lakes that you get into. All right, that's the first paddle board. Who's going to win the second paddle board? We're going to find out right now. Thanks again to all who donated. Thanks again to all of our incredible contributors. When you guys get a chance, please go over to Handlebars, go over to Thirsty, go over to Outdoor Flavors. Make an investment, make a purchase. It helps our cause and it helps theirs. You have no idea. Oh, you got some names. You got, who could it be? Is it going to be Ashley? Is it going to be Adrian? It's Ashley Zimmer. Ashley Zimmer wins the other paddle boards. Congratulations, Ashley. We will remove your name because you have already won. Or at least remove that names because you've already won. Now we're on to the prints. There's 2 prizes left. These prints, 3 wonderful prints by Art for Cause. As I said, they were right beside us at the Toronto Sportsman Show. They had a cardinal. And I would have to say that cardinal was the most popular print of all. And I am happy to say that cardinal is a part of the 3 prints that are available. Let's find out who is going to be taking home the 3 prints. Good luck to all. It's going to be slowing down. Oh, it's going to be a new name. It's going to be a new name. It is Tony Szynowski. Tony, I tell you, you have a huge horseshoe up your arse when it comes to these giveaways. Tony, those prints are absolutely mint. You're going to love them, man, and they will hang and look remarkable in any room you choose. Congratulations to you, Tony. Again, you won't be disappointed. Now, we're on to the e-bike. We are on to the big prize. This is worth over $2,000. It is a remarkable bike. It is pedal assist. It is power assist. It is a hybrid. And I'll tell you, you can take these things anywhere, any season, any condition. They are indestructible. And if Mitch was watching, he would 100% agree. All right, let's find out who it is. Let's find out who takes home this incredible e-bike. Good luck to all. Thanks to all of you who donated. Thanks to all of our sponsors, our contributors, and everybody that supported our NeXgen event. It was a huge success up in Keswick. Let's find out who it is. Who could it be taking home the e-bike? I see lots of worthy people coming around the corner here. Lots of worthy people. Is it? Could it be Dean Osmond? Dean Osmond, congratulations, my friend. Now, unfortunately, he is way up north. This is actually going to come in really handy for him. How we're going to get it to him, I have no idea. But Dean Osmond, congratulations to you, my friend. You won the e-bike and, of course, something that you will truly find use for and be proud to own. Thanks for all who donated. Thanks for all who supported. Thanks for all who came today and supported CFN Live. To the NOWT, to Duberville, to the town of Keswick, Boston Pizza, who supplied us a whole bunch of pizzas at our NeXgen event. There is a lot of moving parts when it comes to CFN and OFC Nation, and we are happy and honored to be a part of it. We're going to spread the joy, spread the fun, and grow the passion when it comes to fishing and the outdoors, and I need all your help to do it. In the meantime, Dave, take us away, because I want you guys to have a fantastic week. Stay cool, because I heard it's supposed to get really hot. But get out fishing. Get out fishing and enjoy the outdoors. Love you all. Take care. Peace.
Well, as much as I hate to admit it, I guess we've run out of time. So I've enjoyed it, but I'm going to do something I haven't done since season 1. Turn out the lights. The party's over. They say that all good things must end.